Lindsay, you ready?
We can go ahead, it'll just be.
We'll wait if we.
Okay, just, yeah, one second.
Yeah, don't.
This logged out by itself automatically. But it don't like me. Okay, there we go.
All right. Good morning. Let's call the meeting to order. This is August 11th. We're here at the Managed Building for our regular monthly meeting. We're going to stand for a moment of silence. Followed by the pledge of allegiance. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Lindsay, if you would call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Here.
Ms. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Pollock?
Here.
Mr. Key?
Here.
All right. Moving to our agenda, which has been posted, we all have had copies of. We have minutes. This is not, it's not listed here, but in the future, Lindsay, if you would just put by consent,
Okay,
unless there are, the chair will entertain a motion to accept or make adjustments to the minutes, to approve them by consent.
I'll make a motion, we approve our minutes by consent.
Are there any additions or changes to any of the minutes? All right, is there any opposition to accepting the minutes by consent? All right, let the record reflect that those 4 dates in the minutes as in the packet are approved unanimously. All right, moving to our regular agenda items, which start with the planning and zoning board application. Is there any comments about, we have a, is this for a member or for an alternate? It says member.
This is for an alternate.
For an alternate, this is an alternate position. All right.
Did we lose somebody?
Yes.
We lost someone.
Yes.
Okay, my only thoughts, and, the application was great, her ability and all, is, her husband being in with, building, I don't know where they're building within Mexico Beach at this time or not. May not be a problem at all with that, but it's a concern.
Everyone else that's an alternate or a voting member, they're staying where they're at. Is that right?
The way that it's set up is we have the 5 members and then we have the 2 alternates. The
Okay.
member that left, when she left, one of the alternates automatically steps in.
Who is that alternate?
The alternate is, it's Tina's mom, Lindsay, Lori.
Lorraine Lindsay.
Okay. Okay, so, and who is the other alternate? That's Joe.
Jim Bush.
Jim Bush,
Joe Bush. Okay,
Yeah.
so he's remaining an alternate.
correct.
Okay. And the alternates don't vote.
Yeah. But they're the automatic people that step in once another member steps out.
Okay.
Do they sit with them if somebody's not in the meeting as often?
Yes, the alternates do sit in if someone's absent. And keeping in mind, that for a couple, 3 meetings when the whole COVID thing kicked off, we had alternates that were sitting in and making votes originally.
So if they sit in to take the place of a voting member, they get to vote.
Correct.
All right, assuming we obviously only have one application.
Yes.
Okay? All right, or motion? Or Ms. Miller? Or on Ms. Miller? She has an interest, and we have an opening. I'm good with it. I don't know her personally, but that's, okay too.
I think she used to live in Fifth and Faulkner, or now they build a house in Faulkner's. I just met her, I don't know her. But that's where she built a house in Faulkner there. She used to live in Fifth and Faulkner somewhere right in there somewhere. I agree. We got opening, nobody else.
Well, the credentials, she's really got the knowledge to take the bill. You gonna motion?
Yeah, or you want, y'all make a motion to accept it.
I say.
We have a motion and a second to accept Ms. Miller as an alternate. Is there any further comments and or discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Okay. Please let Ms. Miller know, I assume she's not here. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my
Oh.
goodness.
There you
Well, thank you for applying and welcome to the planning and zoning board.
Thank you.
Nice to,
Look forward to it.
when we're masked up, it's hard to recognize who's who. Not that I might have seen you and not know it. Thank you for having an interest. All right, ordinance 747 is our second item. That is for the ordinance that we discussed at the last meeting. And we are now ready to authorize, or not authorize, but put the ordinance on the book. It defines the sale of the, or not the sale, but the location and all of the, but it does authorize the sale and the location of the property up in the business stuff. Do I have a motion to read ordinance 747?
If I could, there's, I think, two changes. to
Okay.
Summarize. Compared to the version for first reading today, we have, attached the exhibit that shows the contract that we have entered into with pharmacy, and, Mario signed that contract now. And the other change is that originally the ordinance had language about attempting to negotiate a better deal. We just eliminated that because we've already entered this contract. We know what the terms are, that you all approved the basic terms last meeting, so those are the changes.
Okay.
Make a motion, read ordinance 747 by title only.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any comments? Ms. Lindsay, please do so.
An ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, authorizing the sale of the Civic Center property and providing immediate effective date.
Now, the fact that this is an ordinance, you have on here motion to adopt, can we move forward with adoption?
Yes, we've already run the notice in the newspaper, and we may adopt today if you'd like. And actually, it would be very helpful to stay on schedule for the sale.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 747?
Make a motion, we adopt ordinance 747.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt. Again, any comments? If you would, Lindsay, please call the roll.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Next, number 3 is the cottages at Paradise Cove. I think everyone is aware this is one of those that we've had for a couple of meetings. Is there any, Nick, or you, can you sort of enlighten us to whatever, or Mark, whoever might want to take the lead here?
Yeah, I'm happy
Before I open the public hearing, I'll at least tell us, now, or should, I'll make it part of the public hearing. Let me open the public hearing, that's all.
the reason why you're seeing this, proposal before you again, last meeting, we had a lengthy conversation on it, and, at the end of that conversation, we did not either approve or deny it, we just kind of, we had a motion, didn't pass, and left it there. And primarily, the reason why it's on your agenda today is we want to get a true approval or denial, or approval of conditions, and not leave it lingering. Sometimes if, there's not an actual motion that passes, we have more complications in the future than we'd like. So we're going to do another hearing, on the project, so staff will give you a basic description of the project, and, we'll hear from the audience and, have a vote.
All right, I think for council purposes, is there any reason to rehash? I mean, we all know what the project is. So I'm gonna open the public hearing now for those that may be here that wanna speak on the 715th Street cottages at Paradise Cove. Yes, ma'am.
Hi,
Thank you.
I'm Pamela Chapman. I reside at 108 Paradise Cove Boulevard in Mexico Beach. One of the original homes on this property. Y'all heard me last time I spoke. I just had a couple of other key points because I'm still perplexed in as much a couple of things. So what we've got now is, we know the floodplain has changed. Just a couple of clarification points. The engineering that was determined to bring us here today, and that was all done pre-Hurricane Michael, is that correct?
I believe that's correct, but I'm not in a position to
I
answer.
think I can address that. I think that this is preliminary plat approval. So when we're talking about engineering right now, we're approving the layout. The engineering, the actual study of the floodplain, looking at the stormwater comes after preliminary plat approval. So we're at the preliminary plat approval stage right now. We're approving a layout based on 28 lots and 12 townhomes, which will be a total of 40 units. Does that?
Okay, so
Answer.
I didn't get an answer. I got it. That
Right.
doesn't apply
The
because.
answer is we're not finished with engineering yet. This is the first step to get us to the next step of actually engineering this piece of property.
Okay, and I guess my next question would be, if the preliminary plat is approved, what does this allow?
It allows me to move
What you
forward
see.
with designing the subdivision.
It
Okay,
allows what you see on the map.
I gotcha. So my concern once again is that the floodplain level has changed post-Hurricane Michael. The water and what the prediction is of the floodplain has gone up 4 feet. My house, 2 houses on the street can no longer be raised, they exist. So all I'm trying to do is to find out, we don't wanna get flooded. Because now if it goes up, if the floodplain is correct, it goes up and we get flooded, we're underwater. So that's just my concern, and I don't know any other avenue, to come to except for city council. And we're not saying or trying to restrict or deny anyone from building on that line, that's not it. But there ought to be a way to
Ms.
just
Chapman,
protect the current properties, because we cannot elevate them.
if you would, please, at the last meeting, it was stated that the floodplain engineering would have to account for those properties that abut this property. So in the preliminary plat, which does not address engineered floodplain elevations, it is assured to us that just by approving the preliminary plat does not relieve this property from following the floodplain rules, which include the properties that you're concerned about, but more in depth. So that's what we talked about, I think, rather extensively at the last meeting, that all of the properties surrounding this property are included in the survey. Which would include the street that you are justifiably concerned.
And then one other thing that was brought to my attention, and y'all may be able to shed some light on this, I understand the city in the future wants to change the storm drainage. And whereas we now have one canal coming headed towards our area, at that juncture, we will have two. So when I look at the future desires of the city, changing that plus this, that's why I'm back here today. I'm just wanting to find out, you know, what recourse, if things break bad, why couldn't we just once again follow the current rules of development? If I was to build a brand new house, I would have to undergo the brand new laws and resubmit plans. Even if I did it pre-Hurricane Michael, I'd have to resubmit them. That's all I'm saying is I would like for any development to do their due diligence the same way I would have to if I was going to put up a new.
Well, you're implying that they're not having to do that.
I'm just asking. That's all I'm trying to do is ask.
But they will be held to the current standards. Just like someone
Okay.
building a new house.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Michael Guy. I'm at 110 Paradise Cove, and I was on vacation for 10 days when y'all had the last meeting for the preliminary plat, and wasn't able to attend. I did try to monitor it, and I'm sorry I didn't, but I just learned about this just prior to leaving on that vacation. It didn't seem like it was advertised or there was any signage or anything, so I hadn't had a lot of time to do any research on it. And I'll say it again, I've been in law enforcement for over 20 years. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a contractor, I'm not a developer, I don't know much about that side of it, but I do know how to research, and I know moments that make me scratch my head. And there was a few issues that I overheard, and I heard her speaking, and I heard y'all address some of those issues. But the first question was, when the preliminary plat is approved, would that allow site work prior to DEP, water management, any of that? Will there be any dirt moved until that happens?
No.
No? Okay, so the other concern is, I believe that I'm the last purchase in Paradise Cove subdivision. There may be one since then, but I purchased my lot in 2018, a few months before Hurricane Michael. And I've been into the drafting and permitting and all those stages since then, so it's been drawn out. But when I purchased my lot, I purchased it through Harmon Realty, which is the same family that developed Paradise Cove Boulevard. There was a homeowners association that was created and recorded with the Department of State and is with the Bay County Clerk of Court. It's recorded with them. This new plat for the cottages shows driveways coming into Paradise Cove Boulevard. Is that legal with a homeowners association that owns Paradise Cove Boulevard?
Nick, you addressed that at the last meeting.
So the last meeting, I thought we concluded that Paradise Cove Boulevard had been dedicated to the city and was being maintained by the city. If it hadn't, and that was a private road, it'd be a problem, but everything we heard last time was that the city's maintaining it and taking over that road.
Okay, so when did that occur?
Don't know. I think, I can check the plat. It may have been done on the plat. It sounded like it may, but it could have occurred later.
And the reason I ask is when I purchased my lot, my deed is covenant restricted. I purchased it in 2018. I had to sign a homeowners association disclosure when I purchased my lot that there was an active homeowners association. In my research, I could not find anything in the Department of State records or Bay County Clerk of Court where that homeowners association was dissolved. So that's a main question. If the preliminary plat is approved, how is that being done legally with no record of that being dissolved, with that being an active homeowner association? Because if in the Paradise Cove Boulevard subdivision, that street is included in the plat that's provided and recorded.
So the Paradise Cove plat, I'm looking at it in the dedication statement, that's where you handle transfers of title and maintenance. say that the Paradise Cove Boulevard, is, dedicated to the public, which is the city. Staff, I think, told us that the city's been maintaining that road, so it's a normal public road now. Like I said, if it had been maintained as a private road that the city wasn't maintaining, it would not make sense, to add more driveways to it, but it's a regular city road.
But I believe under HOA rules, any common area, any part of a homeowners association has to be transferred to a government entity or to the owners within the homeowners association by a vote from the members of that homeowner association. Did that occur? And my question ultimately is it legal for those driveways to access Paradise Cove Boulevard without that documentation? I don't see where that's legal. I don't know where that change over to the city occurred legally.
The transfer happened in the plat, in the dedication. You will occasionally see a deed that follows that, just to confirm the transfers, but not every time.
But you didn't vote on it, is that what you're saying?
That's correct, and when I came in and purchased my property, and I believe I was the latest one,
It's done in the
Yeah, we
original.
have the
I
same
signed homeowners
situation.
association paperwork. And I would be safe to say that no one on that street is aware that there is not a homeowners association anymore.
Would you say, Mario?
The road was platted in the original development. I mean, before these lots ever sold, that road was dedicated to the city.
October 27th, 2003.
So it's been that way since the beginning. If there's an HOA, the HOA governs the, like you said, the common land, the stormwater, the components that are common to them, but I don't know what those are without looking at their HOA.
Well, the dedication calls out a passive park area that the association would maintain. Doesn't say that about the boulevard though. I haven't looked at the homeowners association documents. They're probably online. I can look at them, but they generally occur. They're filed usually after the plats, so they're all, the plat lays the basic groundwork the association has to that.
Well, how much trouble could the city get in if we approve something and then they sue us? Is that, I mean, should we look at it? What do you think?
It's never pleasant to be sued, but everything we've heard is that that road is a
Good.
regular public city road.
Don't you think it'd be good to check that, just to make sure?
Well, the fact that he's telling us that it's a regular public road, I don't know that there's anything on the road itself that would risk anything with the city, on the road.
And you found something on that Peter that says that road has been deeded to Mexico Beach?
It's the original 2003 plat. It dedicated the road to the public, in this case it's the city, to maintain and to use.
But it is recorded in that it has been transferred to the city.
That's right, in the plat,
Transfer might be the wrong word. When the plat's recorded,
dedicated.
it's dedicated right then. It never was done something different and then later transferred. It was done at the date the plat was recorded.
Well, I got a copy of the plat, and I didn't see that.
Okay? I'm not looking at it either. I'm listening to what,
And I'll back up. I'm not opposed, as a resident there, I'm not opposed to development. It sounds like that, but I'm not opposed to development at all. What I'm opposed to is when I purchased that property, I have 3 kids that are 13 and under. I purchased that selectively because it's a cul-de-sac road and it's low traffic. I see where it says low density, but the units that I'm seeing on the proposed plat is not low density. I purchased it so my kids can play in the road and not get run over, not get killed. And what I see coming, if it is done the way it is proposed, is the size of those residences and the size of those lots, it is gonna be a weekend warrior situation for people who rent or sublease or lease out, and I'm not sure if that's been addressed. A lot of the homeowners association rules do address that, but there's gonna be traffic, there's gonna be vehicles parked in the road, there's gonna be boat trailers, there's gonna be everything, and the stormwater that's created when that lot is level, that stormwater is a concern, not so much for me, but for the people that are already developed at grade level. It's easy to say in engineering, during engineering, that that's not going to occur, but our homeowners association where we were at was engineered as well, and it flooded. So, I'm guessing Dewberry is handling the engineering with this new development. Is there any other engineering firm that has looked at it to fact check that?
Well, I think that's what we just spoke about, this is preliminary plat approval. This approves us to do the engineering on the site, so where you're asking for, we haven't even got to yet. This is a step in the process to get us to engineer this site. We have to engineer this site, design it, do the stormwater, have the stormwater permit, have the stormwater approved per the standards, per Northwest Florida and city standards. So everything that you're asking for is gonna be done, but this is a step in the process to get us to that point to look at it.
Okay, I understand. Will there be any other engineering firms looking at it other than Dewberry?
We
But I'm
don't,
not
we
saying
can't
that-
review our own stuff, so
That's exactly why I'm
the
asking.
city, it'll be submitted to the city, and the city will either conduct an internal review, that'll be their review process, yes.
But Dewberry is the engineering firm for the city as well, right?
Right, but that's, you can't do that. I mean, by law, you can't review something that you're the city engineer for.
Okay, so will it be reviewed? That's a
Yeah,
question.
we have another company that does an independent review of our land development regulations for subdivisions. We do.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you for your comments. Are there others? Okay, we're gonna close the public hearing, return to the table, for discussion and/or comments. I'll say that I still am on the guy did what the land development regulation says. I am suggesting again that for me to approve or vote to approve, it would have to be that we reduce those 9 lots to 6 lots on the Paradise Cove Street, which is the same number of lots that's on the south side of the road, or the north side of the road. But as far as the following our land development regulations, he has done so. And in the preliminary plat, we still, remember, it's not a development order, it's not a final plat approval. We will have ample opportunity to ensure, as will the public, that the requirements for stormwater and all of the concerns that have been voiced today those will be addressed as we move forward. But I would like to formally ask that the lots be reduced on Paradise Cove from 9 to 6.
So, I agree with that, but we actually legally can't say that, right? We can only request that they do that.
You can request it.
Yeah,
We can request it and say that's what you gotta do, but is that gonna get us in conflict with our land development?
What you would do is condition your approval on that change, and it would be up to the applicant to say, okay, I'm gonna proceed, good enough, or challenge the approval and say it was too strict.
Well, hopefully he'll agree with that. I don't see how it can be reasonable and not agree to that. So,
Well, it may not be completely in right, but we try to keep our neighborhoods the same.
sure.
Greenville, if they meet all, LDR, we have the LDR for a reason, and they meet it, we ought to go by it. But, I still agree with him and you that we should request, the split on Paradise Cove to be the same as one side of the road to the other.
So the term we usually use is consistency in the neighborhood, and you very rarely will see a case like this where there's a plat that relies on a pre-existing road. They usually build out their own roads, so
this is a good idea or a good reason why we should change something?
So
Or-
ordinarily, you wouldn't tell someone submitting a plat to change their number of lots if they've met their minimum requirements, but in this case, you do have a basis to condition that change in your approval because of the issue of consistency between the two sides of that street, and that you usually won't see that. Usually when there's subdivision that's applied for, they're not gonna rely on existing roads, they're gonna rely on their own roads. So this is a rare case where it makes sense.
Other comments?
I think it's much too busy. I think it's just gonna be a bunch of congestion with all of this. I think it should be dropped lower than just eliminating those three on that one road. I think it's just gonna be, much too congested.
Okay.
I got two or three, Michelle.
Yes.
I got two or things when, Mr. Guy asked, or when Pam asked, actually back there was a study done pre-approval. Was it pre-Hurricane Michael, and I reckon the second time we did get an answer, said yes. In my opinion, it needs to be done, since we are developing this land now, I think we need to have another, for the city and for Mike, to have the engineering form now, after the hurricane. But it does change it. And, anyway, if you look at the property, you can take it. And another thing I got was, when Mr. Guy brought up the HOA deal, and Nick answered, can we see something in black and white that says that we know what we're doing there, Nick? I mean, do we know for sure? I'm like, Mr. Keith said, I don't want us to start something and then we get in the middle of it and we can't do it. Do we know this? I mean, you said, yeah, but have you seen something in black and white that says that road?
Well, I can read the exact quote from the plat dedication, but that was what I was reviewing before. I've also now got the Declaration of Covenants Restrictions. That's the first primary, most important HOA document that exists. So it does define their common area properties, and it even has exhibits that list them out and describe them, and the road's not included. It's a passive park, a stormwater area, and let's see, just one other. Passive park, stormwater basin, and stormwater management access easement. Those are the common areas in their declaration of covenants that the association is maintaining. I haven't seen anything that would indicate.
Where
that we're
is
intending
their-
on a regular city road.
Where's their stormwater pond on the plat? Is it across the road?
On
Like the other
Paradise
ones
Cove or
on
on the new plat?
On the original, ones we were talking about there. It's not across the street, it's on their side.
No.
Yeah, okay, that's all I need to know.
Pond right here.
Yeah, they've got one over here
Yep.
somewhere, what he said.
I'm pulling it up,
Yeah, okay.
but it would definitely be on the same side of the road as them. They didn't own the other property. Well, it wasn't part of the plat.
One more thing, I'd like to get it re-engineered after Michael and see if there's any changes before, if we could. And it was a good point that the city, and I know I always said we had somebody to do it, but, our city engineer is Dewberry. And Michael's using Dewberry, Paradise Cove. So, to me, I think we probably do have somebody, but, having the same person doing the same job, it's not, to me, it's not right. And I think we need to do a little bit more study, which that's all I've been doing, except when I went off on a little vacation. And look, the more we dig, the more we find. And I think a little more time to do us all good. And then if we can't, then we'll come back with the 6 houses and do what we got to do. That's my opinion.
Well, I see some of what you're saying, but are we gonna do this at every house we have to do, every project we have to do, to go back and redo it? We got a LDR, it meets our LDR. That's my opinion.
Yeah, as far as a past study on this property prior to Michael, I don't know what that was. There may have been one, but we do have our much more strict stormwater, more strict floodplain requirements now. That's post-Michael, applies to this area. And we will do further, the applicant will do further engineering on this project if they get to the next stage. And we do have another engineering firm on contract for situations like this. Panhandle Engineering is on contract, and this would be a good time to use them. It's up to the city whether to set up that task order and incur the expense, but they're available.
I'm in favor of doing that.
I am as well.
Well, they're gonna do the review at the end, that's who the city uses. I'm not for incurring any more expense for a preliminary plat. It does nothing more than outline just the map that we see. I am for changing the lots. Other than that, that's all.
The role of the second engineer, the city's other engineer, it wouldn't be to design something or study the area, it'd be to review the formal engineering that's submitted by the applicant and either agree with it or ask questions or say it won't work. That's their role. They don't do design, they do review.
Okay, additional comments? Chair will entertain a motion and/or any other comments that the table has.
Make a motion, we approve the preliminary plat on the colleges of Paradise Code with the exception of changing the, Paradise Code lots from 9 to 6.
Do we have a motion? Is there a second?
I think that we don't really have a choice. This has been kind of a really tricky thing for people to like or comprehend, and there are valid points on both things, but I think, as Josh says, they gotta do a re-engineering, or they gotta do the engineering, it comes later. This really doesn't give a permission to do anything other than go to the next stage, which is engineering, and at that stage, Josh, you can have issues that may prevent it from even happening, is that correct?
Right.
Okay, and we don't know unless we go there. And if we don't go there, then we are going against our LDR and our ordinances, is that correct, Nick?
Yes, if we just denied this, there's not a good basis for that because it
Yeah.
does in general meet our
Well,
requirements.
I like what the mayor said about another issue. I reluctantly second it.
Have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Lindsay, would you call the roll, please?
Chair Kathy,
Yes.
Ms. Call,
Yes,
Mr. Smith,
No.
Mr. Pollock,
Yes.
Mr. Key.
Yes.
Okay, so we will notify them about the exception, and we'll be standing by to hear what's, yes.
I would also like to say, because right now, while we're still on this, Josh is a fellow on our team. He's part of who we depend on to do things for us, and he's a valuable source for any questions that anyone in the council or the city might have. They can call him. his job is to answer your questions, so that anytime anything comes up, just know that Josh is available, and he represents the city, so he's our answer man for engineering issues. So he's not a bad guy, he's not the enemy, he's part of the team, and he's part of the team that's got a bloody lip through all this for probably no reason. So anyhow, I just wanted to throw that in. Josh is a good guy, he's on our team.
Just as some other background, the way I understand it is Josh was involved in this project a couple of years ago, before the hurricane. This is not a standard routine thing you're gonna see.
Yeah.
Where he's bringing projects to the council. It had more to do with the project getting slowed down from Hurricane Mike.
Yeah, right.
Just clarification, I actually inherited it after the hurricane.
Great inheritance there, Josh.
Okay, are we clear on how to proceed with the developer on, as far as the motion and the, all right, moving on, next is a motion for a resolution for, Salt Creek. Mara, could you help us there, or sort of give us what we're doing here?
On Salt Creek, the initial phase of Salt Creek was to clear up to where it bottlenecks to the north, and there's drawings in here that support that. We had to go back to the Corps of Engineers to extend the permit north of that point, and it took a little while to get that approval. We literally got that approval last week, or 10 days ago, so we couldn't tell the contractor to go ahead and clear that area until we got that approval. Now that we have that approval, we'd like to release them to do the balance of the work. All this still falls within the original $3.1 million of the NRCS project. The St. Joe Company is providing the match, so this is no money out of city coffers. This is strictly a cleanup of a natural waterway that was facilitated through NRCS.
And you also, one of the issues that we had to resolve was they wanted to stay narrowly to where the creek banks were. And of course, when it flooded, it went way out of bounds, and then, so that's one of the additional costs, because or that was part of it. We had to get wider.
The original conversations, they were just looking at the creek as just the true water's edge,
Mhm.
you know, that you see every day. What people don't see is that wiregrass has water in it.
Mhm.
That was done a couple months ago, that they agreed that the wider edge of the total floodplain of the creek bottom was. This is the northern, most perimeter. And what happened is the $3.1 million is gonna go further than we even thought. As a matter of fact, I got a call from Mark earlier today that said that they didn't even think that they'd utilize the full $3.1 million in the cleanup, even with this extended area.
That's good news.
Okay, is there a motion?
I got a question. Mario, but the first one was 2.4 million,
I believe so.
and then now they asking for $635,000 more.
They are not asking for, we've added to the project, which is the $635 million. If we want them to do the work, we would have to basically
And
augment their.
this is all approved, I mean, and what gets me is if they ask for this more money, $635,000 more, and we owe a lot of people around here, we can't get a grant from FEMA or get money to pay these bills, and then now we can get this to extend this. You see what I'm saying? I don't quite understand how we can do it, how we can get money for this project when we still owe money for other projects and we can't get that money. But yet again, you said that we got it extended and there wouldn't be no money out of our pocket. But I think they still bill the city, and then when we get the grant, then we pay it. Is that where it goes?
It is a reimbursement.
Reimbursement, but they do bill Mexico Beach.
They will bill Mexico Beach in this particular project because it is NRCS, which is completely separate from FEMA. Please understand that it's a completely different agency.
But then
We will take that bill and send it directly to, NRCS, and they will actually make the payment, I believe, in this particular case. No, I'm sorry, that is not correct. because the St. Joe company has already deposited the money into our account to make the initial payment. So it is a reimbursement program, but it is a 30-day lag.
Is it correct that the additional $673,000 is to pay for more work to the north that wasn't originally scoped? This isn't just more.
This is additional scope to KK Storm's contract. This is not additional scope to this grant.
Right, right. We always expected it to be about 3.1 million, but the first task order, we didn't put the full
The full.
3.1 in because we weren't ready to scope the northern portion of the project.
That is correct. This is additional scope.
I like the way we expected. I mean, I don't like expecting nothing. I believe when they turn in the original order, it ought to be as close to it as you get instead of coming back in 2 weeks or a month and come up with $635,000 more, even though it's a grant. I still pay taxes and this is my money too. I'm not in favor of it.
Was the original smaller scope because the city
Only released
created that
in
limit,
March.
or was it, yes? So,
It was because this is Dina, we were waiting on the Army Corps permit we had permitted the first scope of work, which I think was a total of 4,500 linear feet of channel cleanup. But this 1,600 linear feet to the north, myself and Cameron Morris went out and walked this full length of creek, and we noticed a lot more debris all the way up this additional length of scope. So, but we didn't have the permit at that time from Army Corps and TP to do that additional work. So we turned loose what we could, but we were waiting on the permits to come through before we could turn them loose on the second part.
And this is grant,
This is grant.
not tax.
It is tax money in the sense that grant money is going federal, it's federal tax money that we're already paying. I'm not saying that FEMA's money is free. FEMA's money comes with somebody
Yeah.
making a payment.
And they didn't build this land in Mexico Beach, if we get Salt Creek drains in this, that's why it's giving it to us. None of this land they're doing belongs to us. I understand it don't need cleaned up, but I'm just saying.
Who owns the land? Would that be St. Joe Company?
The St. Joe company owns all of the perimeter land. The waterway itself is sovereign land, and that is why, I'm sorry, state waters, and that's why the St. Joe company is providing the match, so that the city's not out of pocket.
And St. Joe Company's already done what now?
St. Joe company's already paid half of the portion that they're responsible for just to kick things off.
Okay.
Yes, they paid 300 and something thousand already, which we deposited.
What was our part, Mario? What was the city's part to, I mean, they did, it was percentage, it was very, it wasn't that, but sure wasn't no $1 million they give us.
The city's part is zero.
But
if St. Joe wasn't paying.
St. Joe wasn't paying,
Oh, if
the percentage, where there was a percentage.
25% is responsible to be a match. St. Joe's providing the 25% match.
So we don't pay anything
Correct.
by the time it's over with.
Correct.
Okay, others, questions, comments? On the resolution? To extend the work, scope of the work? Chair will entertain a motion. To read the resolution.
I'll make a motion, we read resolution 2025 by title only.
So,
Have a motion and a second. Any opposition to reading? Lindsay, would you read, please?
A resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, approving an agreement with KK Storm LLC / Kaiser Kane Storm LLC joint venture for an amended not to exceed in the amount of $3,135,000.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Again, any comments? Please call the roll.
Mayor Kathy,
Yes.
Ms. Call,
No,
Mr. Smith,
No,
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Key,
Yes.
Okay, let's see, moving on, number 5 is me. The employment agreement. In your packet is a commonly used employment agreement. This time it has, as all of you know, we made Lindsay the interim city clerk. I'm simply proposing to the council that we remove the interim. I think she's done, in my opinion, she's done a remarkable job. She's shown her abilities to handle what we need done. And the only thing that's out of the ordinary in terms of employment agreement is under section 3, which is number A, where I'm recommending a lateral transfer in salary from what she's actually making now until such time as she completes the training, and proposing then a modest increase to 45.5 upon completion of some of the training for the records requirements for the city clerk as a statutory position as well as a charter position in the city. She's one of 2 employees that the city council oversees. And so I am proposing that we approve the employment agreement with the caveat of the training before the money for moving her to that 45.5 salary.
Just one other thing in the agreement that's a little different. I understand from staff it's due to the budget adoption process, but this employment agreement has a commencement date of October 1st, 2020, so that's fine. But if you
Yeah.
want to go ahead and, in your motion, clarify that for the time being, for the next 2 months, that Lindsay is appointed to be the regular city clerk.
Yeah, I guess I thought that was implied that that's the way that would work. But yeah, this contract does not take effect to October 1st. Yeah, the same time that the budget rolls in, this sort of makes everything, it makes it easier to track. So, and this agreement is the same one we've used for, I don't know how long, it dates way back for, at least for the, clerk and the administrator. So, I'm putting that out, if you care to discuss it, you have some comments about moving forward with getting a city clerk. It's an important position in the city, and we need to, not that we have to do it today, but that's what I'm proposing.
I got one thing, I got a couple things too. I really, Lindsay's doing a wonderful job, and she really is. And when we needed a city clerk, she stepped up to the job. And has done an outstanding job. She wanted, you can look at, she wanted to really learn how to do it, and in my opinion, on the salary, in my opinion, being the city clerk, I think you ought to be the top paying lady in the department.
thank you.
And she needs, I don't think, in my opinion, I really think the people that work under her or make more money than she does, I believe her, I think 45,000 or whatever, I don't think that's enough money. That's the only thing I disagree with the whole plan. We need her, she's done an excellent job.
So, there's people that do other jobs that are under that job that make more money.
Yes.
Well, Miss Monique's here, I'm gonna stand up for Miss Monique too, I think they're both equally important, but I'm thinking probably for the education, Miss Monique should be the top paid, and then Miss Lindsay. And, yeah.
Go along
so,
with that.
Yeah.
They, both of them took the city clerk
We,
job.
we, we love both these ladies and know that they're doing a great job, they really are, they got a tough job. And I really love Miss Lindsay's accent, which has nothing to do with it, so anyhow. And I agree with you, she does need a raise from what
Well, you
she's
have to
been paid.
remember, no one works under the statutory and the charter, there are no employees that work directly under the clerk. The clerk works at the discretion of the city council. There's only 2 employees in the city that do that,
The clerk and the,
clerk and the administrator.
okay.
And if you look in the office, I don't disagree, that all of our employees, I could justify that, I think they all deserve more. But given that she has, you're dealing with some ladies over there that have been here a long time, Lindsay's been here 5 years. It's hard to just not, the clerk, when we divided that up, I think based on that we had a city clerk's position that was paying $65,000 a year, I thought that for accepting that responsibility, sure it's modest, 45.5 is modest. But it's a good faith, in my opinion, from the city council that, hey, we, not only do we like you, and we're telling you we like you, we're gonna give you a little more money, and let her get some training, let her get some, where she has more credentials as far as a city clerk. And that was why I chose, and I did that sitting in front of her, with her, talking to her about that. I didn't just use some arbitrary number. So I think for someone new that is energetic and willing to learn, I believe that's a fair monetary advancement until such time as the city's in better financial shape to do what we can. So that's why I put it in. And that's why I also chose, we talked about the backing up to October 1st to get the budget, get everything more in line, and she was very agreeable to that and understood. Plus, it gives her a couple months to do some training and document to us that she's completed certain courses and things like that, so. But as far as agreeing to everything that's been said about her and her work ethic, absolutely, I totally agree.
I think we give her $1,800 raise, that's what we're doing. 43.45, 43.20, 43.30.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
1,800. I'd say at least give her 5,000. She stepped up to the plate when we needed somebody. I believe
But now,
she.
please, keep in mind that she also got an extra bump on her pay for stepping up. This is not the 43, her current salary was increased when she stepped up to the plate.
As an intern.
I'll agree with that.
I'm just wanting everybody to have the same facts. So it's not like she was not compensated, but when you're a 5-year employee up against people that have been there 10, 12, 15 years, it's hard to just look at a piece of paper and say, well, she's not making what all these other people make. I believe this city clerk's position, with her energy level, that she can certainly do better, but she's not there right now. she readily admits that she has areas that she needs to improve in and get trained in. So, I think we're helping her. I mean, I may be wrong at the 1,800, I mean, you may not think that's enough, but for me, I'm satisfied that opens the door and shows our commitment to making her a worthy employee that we all talk about. So, again, it's a statutory requirement, it's a charter requirement that those separation of duties are outlined, and that's why the employment agreement for her and for Mario are set up the way they are. All the other labor pool is all falls under the administrator, but those two positions, and they've always been handled by having a separate agreement, something that we as a council can track and see what's going on. So, if there's a motion, if there's further discussion, again, keep in mind that this agreement does not take effect until October 1st. And it also doesn't mean it can't be amended. So,
Well, I think Lindsay's doing a great job. She's been very helpful to me. She seems like she's in agreement with the money. Is that right? I don't know.
I'm just,
You just happy to be here?
no, I just don't, I did speak with the mayor about it, so
Okay.
that's where I was at, but this is for the table to discuss.
Okay. Well, I think she's doing a great job. Truly, I do.
all right, anybody want to comment more and/or make a motion to accept the employment agreement?
I make a motion we accept the employment agreement,
Second.
the city clerk.
We have a motion and a second to accept the employment agreement. Is there any other comments? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy,
Yes.
Ms. Call,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Pollock,
Yes.
Mr. Key,
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. And Lindsay, thank you. I
welcome.
want to make sure I know you've heard us talk, but we all do truly appreciate your effort and energy.
Thank you.
And it is a team effort over there, contrary to, it takes, they all have different titles, but in the end, you put them in a blender, and some days you don't know, it's just get the job done, so thank you to all of them. Construction standards, Thomas, that's got your name on it,
Yes, sir.
okay?
As everybody knows, I've been working with Dewberry, Josh, and Caleb about setting up some utility construction standards for a lot of buildings going on in the city. Right now, everybody wants to build in Mexico Beach, we're using Bay County standards. That's not, Bay County's, they're good standards, but we need to adopt our own, so we have a more streamline of everything that we use, so we don't have mix match lift station, control panel, stuff like that. I worked with Dewberry got this set up, and, the packet's so thick, we didn't print it for each. Yeah, I could've seen Mr. J when I gave him that big packet here. But we got a copy of the standards, and we just need, I don't know what the proper procedure is for adopting them, approving them.
If you reviewed them, and we have
So,
general acceptance, it's something better than we've never had any, so.
and that's it, yeah, like I said, we all we had was Bay County, and Bay County standards are great and everything, but some of their stuff's a lot more elaborate than what we actually truly need, this is actually used, I think, Panama City Beach. is
Or are you
kind of
recommending that they have, that we move?
Yes, sir. This standard will basically is the guidelines for any future development that happens within Mexico Beach will follow these standards, so we know what pipe they use, we know what valve designs they use and things like that. That way, when he goes out to do a replacement or digging something up 5, 6, 8, 10 years from now, he knows what he's digging into. He's not gonna go in there and find sprinkler pipe where they're supposed to be Schedule A.
This was a class pipe or C900, and it's like said, thin walls.
Now, is this something, is this an action by the council to accept, or is this just information?
It's information, but it would be good to have it as action, because that way it's an affirmative action for the future
Okay.
developers to know that they have to follow these guidelines.
And this is the equipment facilities, correct me if I'm wrong, that are either immediately for the city or that will be dedicated to the city. This isn't for like a private homeowner, what they do with their house.
That is correct for city.
But-
Exactly.
city
So we're
maintenance.
not creating a rule for everybody in the public to follow. This is a rule for how we want the city's own equipment and facilities to be spec'd out.
Okay.
And the only other note I have with that is they say it's a city specs, and we do know that going outside of town here, like Sugar Sands Development, places like that, they're technically outside the city limits with their own, our utility system, so they would have to, anything attached to our utility system would have to follow these same standards, even though technically they're outside the city limits. And then this also just helps us enforce and, you know, we got 4,000 material things we gotta keep on the yard, kind of streamline our material, so we're not having to buy a bunch of extra materials and stuff, so.
And that's why you can approve this with just a regular motion. If you're making rules for every citizen in the whole city to follow, that would be an ordinance, but this is just first.
In-house, okay.
And we also have to follow these same standards, just like when we do the work on the system, we have to follow them just like everybody else would, so.
So anything that we've got right now that's not. in
But they, these are
accordance
set to
with
moving
these.
forward, everything
So
is set.
eventually, we will have everything, the stuff that's not following this now that we fixed will be done.
I'll give you an example of that, our meters for some of our big condos,
Mhm,
they are an old style meter that we no longer matches our system.
mhm.
This standard allows us to upgrade them to the new standard.
When they need upgrade.
When they need upgrade. So that we have to follow the standard just like everybody else. would.
Yes.
And when the next condo comes in, they will build it
They will
to
have to
this
meet the
standard,
standard,
not
sure.
some
Right.
mediocre standard.
I don't see anything but good about it, because it's, you know, it creates an ease of atmosphere. Plus, when, as a contractor, I know what I'm doing when I come in, I've got something, and there's no mistakes about it, and, you know, and we don't get the wool pulled over our eyes by somebody that wants some really cheap stuff and, you know, can use it. I like it.
We'll make a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion that we accept this. What's the number? I make a motion, we accept the Mexico Beach Utility Department construction standards.
So,
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further comments and or discussion? Is there any opposition? Let the record reflect it passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Clark, number 7.
okay, I've been under comments talking about wearing masks. I asked Mario to put it on the meeting, because I really think we need to do it. We need to get out, we need to have our people in our city feel safe. The people that voted us in, represent us, not our personal beliefs or whatever. We need to make them feel safe in doing it. I've had citizens tell me they will not go into a store in Mexico Beach because not wearing masks. They go to wherever it is, Fort St. Joe, whatever, to do it. Now, you can have arguments of all kinds, one way or the other. I'm not gonna stand here and argue, I just feel like it's a safer thing to do, to have masks worn in public places. You can take, for example, the condos. People all coming into the condos and the elevators. You go in there, it's an enclosed area, it's a dangerous spot. And yes, you might touch some of whatever, I'm not gonna argue that point at all. I think we are responsible to our citizens to make it as safe as possible. I can give you an example that, a friend of mine, and most of y'all know him, was at a funeral and also working in the church. Him and his wife both contracted the virus. 17 people in that church contacted the virus. One died. And he said he didn't mind me mentioning names, so if you wanna talk to Gary Woodard about it, you can talk to him. He's the one that was contacted. He was definitely ill for three weeks. He's lucky, they took care of him a lot. It's growing in Guff County, it's growing all in Bay County. It shows we have 11 people. There's quite a bit more because, I know several of them that's not on record. Again, I'm not comfortable wearing a mask. I'm not saying it's the perfect thing to do by any means. But if it's to help or to make our citizens safer, I feel like we need to adopt a plan of wearing a mask in public places. Have a say.
Anybody else? I agree, I think if you listen and watch the people that are experts in the health, I mean, it's obviously happening around us at a higher rate than we've seen. And I just think it's the prudent thing to do and the right thing to do to help protect as many people as you can. And I'll leave it at that. But just obviously not going away by doing nothing. So.
I'd like to say something.
Okay, you just, go ahead.
As a resident here, Bobby and Al, thank you. Al knows how rare this is for me to say thank you to him. But thank you for advocating for us. Most of the residents that I talk to, certainly the ones that I am still in contact with right now, are all wearing masks. We are all afraid to go into the Mexico Beach Market, into the post office, because no one wears masks anywhere around there. And I would like for the council members to think, when they go to Port St. Joe, they're required to wear masks. When they go to Panama City Beach, they're required to wear masks. When they go to Apalachicola also. So I don't understand the reluctance of some of the city council not to protect the people that they are supposed to be working for. And it's not a political statement, and it moves away from your personal feelings. It is a matter of public safety, a matter of public health. And if we don't feel safe in Mexico Beach, where, yes, it's rampant here in the city, if you don't know that. If we don't feel safe here and you're not helping to mitigate the situation, you're not doing your job. So we need to have a mask mandate in this town. And so I would implore you to pass this and help us feel safe.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
I make a motion that it be required in Mexico Beach to wear a mask in public places.
We have a motion on the floor. Any, is there a second? Is there a second? For the record, I'm gonna relinquish the chair, even though Bobby's the mayor pro tem. I'm gonna relinquish the chair to Jerry and, second the motion. Well, I can't, yes, I can, yeah, you're allowed for that. You don't have to be the Mayor Pro Tem, that's here, he made the motion, it's not appropriate to relinquish it to him. So I'm just gonna relinquish it to you. And I second the motion. All right?
So are you saying that with two people, the motion passes against three
No, the
people?
motion is up for vote. I
Okay.
second it so that it can come before vote, you can't.
Okay.
All you have to do is, there's now a motion to second, so it requires at least you ask for a vote.
It's either further discussion now or vote.
Yeah, further discussion and or the vote.
And not define you, but Nick, we can't do this. I ain't been on here like a year and a half, and I'm not government, so.
It's okay for you to handle this motion if that's what you're asking. As far as, if this passes, we'll probably want something a little more detailed in an emergency order format, but let's see if we get to that point first.
Okay, but now, if he has been put as Mayor Pro Tem, he doesn't have a vote.
Yeah.
Or does he?
Sure,
Or does
sure,
everybody?
yeah.
Okay, so, you know, I appreciate everyone's fear, I understand the fear, that there's fear in this country. But there's also something else. The COVID is not the only thing that's killing people these days. There are many studies that prove that depression, unemployment, for every point of unemployment, by locking down with unemployment, more people are being killed as a result of the measures being taken to protect people from COVID than there are being killed by COVID. So it also, I think that, from what I understand, and my point of reference, my main point of reference is Judge Napolitano, who is a constitutionalist, for years. According to what he says, the only place that a city could institute a mask is on their premises. You can't do it to stores, to apartments, to anything else other than public property. And if you do it to other places other than public properties or municipality properties, the legislature of that state has to pass a law that you can do it. So it's not, you know, there are very, very, very many other things about this that need to be taken into consideration. I'm not an uncompassionate person. I know that people are scared of this, and they have that right to be scared and afraid, and they have the right to wear a mask. They have the right not to go somewhere, but they don't have the right to go against the Constitution and affect our civil liberties and the natural law that we have been given by our God. So I'm not being irresponsible. I don't like being told that I'm irresponsible for my decisions, because my decisions this is a very intensely, extremely complicated situation that we have never really, truly been in before. And I think that there's a place where you draw the line and say, you know, we're either gonna be a constitutional republic and be protected by our Constitution, or we're not. And then, for the very final fact in my determination, is there, with a vaccine, you're given a small, less potent portion of the disease so that you catch the disease, so that you build up immunity. So the way that you defeat this is actually contracting it and building up immunity to it. It's the way viruses have always been, it's the way flus have always been, and the death rate, to me, is what I make my determination, my final determination. You know, when it first came out, we were told a million people will die. The death number, you actually have a 99.8% chance, if you contract the COVID-19, of surviving. So as long as that death rate stays that low, or even close to that low, then I think you're hurting people by all the other things and the ways that you're killing them by making them stay home, making them lock down. And I think some of the Democratic cities in the north, and I'm not trying to be political about Democrat, Republican, I'm just saying that there's a lot of death going on up there that is caused by the reaction to it. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, I got to answer one thing on this.
Okay.
We got people in City Hall that have bad health problems. We got people whose spouses have bad health problems. So you saying it's okay in case they get it and give it to them and their spouse dies, it's okay because of civil rights?
No, Bobby,
No, yes, you are.
that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm saying protect the people.
See, you're mad at me. I'm not
No,
mad at you.
I'm not
Bobby.
mad at you.
You're raising your
No.
voice at me, Bobby, and you're
No, I'm
insinuating,
well, everybody here.
you're insinuating that I don't care if someone gets it and dies.
Well, that's basically what you said.
No, that's not, that has
Yeah, it
nothing. Okay, well, I can't argue with that because you're telling me what I'm saying and I can't.
That's what I
argue.
heard.
Well, it's,
It's your civil rights and everybody else's civil rights,
listen,
not work, right?
listen, in the city hall, those people up there, if you come in the door, we've already instituted it, if you come in the door, only 2 people can come into that front area. Everybody that's up there is either behind the glass or in their own office.
Mhm.
When I go into the city hall and I go get my packet or I go do anything else that I do, I go in and people are not wearing masks. So, you know, there are people sitting here now that work in there that are not wearing masks. So, you know, you're saying that if this was a spot where massive amounts of people were coming in, then that might be a different determination, but these people up here, there's not a lot, okay?
Don't take a warning.
Listen, but you're assuming that I'm sick. If I go in without a mask, you're assuming that I'm sick. I'm not sick.
How do you know? In that church I was talking about, the pastor did not know he was sick.
Okay,
He got spread out.
okay.
Now, you might not know you're sick, you may be sick.
Well, with the symptoms of the COVID, the 3 major symptoms are shortness of breath, fever, and one other one, cough and whatever, but, I don't have any of those things. And I can tell you that because I truly care about those people around me, even those people that I don't know that well, if I start, and I know when I've got a fever, I always go to Lucretia and say, Phil, do I have a fever? No, you don't have a fever. She says, but you're kind of a little warm, so she goes and gets the thermometer. I'm gonna tell you, if I get sick, I'm gonna call everybody. I don't know what I'll be sick of, but I'm not gonna come around you.
I feel like you would. I'm
Yeah.
not saying you would not do it,
Right.
but when I say you, I'm talking about anybody.
But what you're,
Anybody.
I'm just saying that we can't as a society, we can't as a society, dictate. We don't have that right to dictate what other people do. You just don't. You don't have that right.
So people can run stop signs? I mean, how far you wanna go with this?
No, I don't wanna go any further.
I'm not gonna argue with you anymore, because you got your mind set up, it will never change.
No,
I'm still saying,
That's
I
so
was
unfair,
elected by
Bobby.
this citizens.
I change my mind all the time when I learn more information, so.
Okay. I was elected by these citizens to protect and serve. To me, that's part of protecting them, representing the citizens of Mexico Beach.
And what about the citizens that don't agree with the mask? Are we not
Well, I
representing
guarantee
them?
the majority of the,
Well, you guarantee that, but that's not my,
you
that's
can't
not my
represent
opinion.
those cities, me either.
Well, that's not my experience. My experience is that the majority of people, if you wanna say that, are not in favor of the mask.
Okay, we can't, there's no need of
Charge,
talking.
did you really?
You in charge.
Thank you.
It's you.
Oh, Lord, please, please. I'm gonna give y'all 30 more seconds to fight this out.
I'm not fighting.
I know you're not, and I really believe that, but I want you, I know you, both of y'all, please don't say this, y'all hard headed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I am too.
And you're not.
Yeah, I am, but I don't think we should conduct ourselves with just shouting, and I know you got your ideas, and he's got his. So, now, let's move on, please, and I'm not rushing you, if you got something to say, Ms.
No,
Sheriff,
I'm-
you got something to say? Bobby, you through hashed it out?
I'm finished.
You through, throw up your hand and say, I don't wanna do it no more, I know, I'm through. All right, Darryl, what about you? All right, let's move on, what we do next?
Call for the vote.
Let's call for a vote, Lindsay, please?
Okay, Mayor Kathy,
Yes.
Ms. Call,
No.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Mr. Pollock,
Yes.
Mr. Key,
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. You did a fine job.
More than we.
You gotta give a cheer back.
No.
All right, he did, I can tell you. I saw it in his eyes. Next is number 8, MG, Mauro, that's you, go for it.
Yes, sir. The team last year put together a package and it went to the legislature, it passed, and then it even made it through all the reductions of the budget. That the city has received $500,000 to support, the city pier in a land purchase of some shape, fashion, or form. So, something that will help the city pier. It is not to design the pier, it's not to build the pier, it is for lack of a better term, educational support to the city pier, and the city has $500,000. That money will come to the city in the rears, the city will have to spend that money first, and then it'll get reimbursed by the state legislature to the tune of $500,000.
What's the timeline on that? I didn't read it.
It has to be done, I believe it's June of
Next year.
2021.
21.
So we have to have spent that money by June of next year.
Correct.
Yeah,
And follow,
here,
and
I'm
follow
sorry,
the letter,
this is right here,
and
current
follow the letter
June
of that
30th
contract.
2021.
Okay, so, and I'm sorry that I didn't review all of this, so what can we and what can we not spend that money for? Is it
We can,
as simple
we can
as-
purchase property.
We can purchase property and that's it?
That's it.
Okay.
Maybe I think where we go with that is if we, Mario, you, some staff, y'all sort of scout out what might be available, and then we'll have to just make a decision if we want to pursue it.
So-
And we gotta have the money.
So we're not gonna, we would have to buy the property where the pier was? I don't understand.
No.
We already own the property where the pier is. This is property outside of the pier that will support the pier.
Okay,
Along the road.
Yes, sir.
so where those houses used to be?
One of the things that was talked about when we applied for this was to have an educational / informative, maybe about the hurricane, about the city, about what happened, about, something that would support, I was hoping that we would get something that would have more latitude than what this grant does. But we didn't. It's pretty, matter of fact, it's very direct what this can be used for. But I think just we don't pass on it, we simply try to see what land might be available to us that would justify the criteria that's outlined here, and then we'll have to make a decision. Sometimes you be careful what you wish for, you get. I don't know what we would put there, how we would develop it, I don't know, we have to just think about it. But right now, at least we know we're basically a year we've got to make a decision. That's more informational, right? I think.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nothing to act on. We've received the grant.
We're not gonna get far down that road buying property,
So this is
even though 500's a lot of money.
Up here,
The support that's here.
Yeah, to support the pier.
that'd be some piling, wouldn't it?
I vote for a bait shop right at the end, so that these guys
That's about all
can,
you afford.
we might can get a bait shop out of it.
All right, we're
This,
gonna.
this will only buy the land, this will not build the
Yeah,
bait
right.
shop or build the educational
Right,
facility
right,
or build the
right.
pole barn. It
Right.
won't build anything, it's just the property.
Yeah, okay.
But we could park on it.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that doesn't put us out money for construction is what I mean, other than some little land development. I mean, we could do that. And we'll look at that. So, but we just got, like I say, like I never said, sounds like a lot till you go try to buy some land. All right, moving on. Nick, you're first up. You have anything for us?
I do not.
No? All right, financial, I assume is coming when we finish?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
There you are, you're awful quiet back there today. All right. Chief, what you got?
Nothing much new today. We're continuing with hydrant maintenance and, we're starting now to do our prevention and fire plans with all the condos that are coming back online. So, just basically keeping up with the everyday run, the departments, keeping up with our ISO, gravel requirements, and so on.
Okay. Any questions for, excuse me, fire? All right. What you got, Mr. Lieutenant?
Not a whole lot, it's been pretty quiet, especially with Jerry out of town, the mafia's been. So we haven't had any problems or riots or anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, he's back, I guess y'all rested up and you're ready. Okay, rested up, you're ready.
Did we find Hector's side by
We
side?
have not yet, we're still investigating, we're still running down leads.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Any questions for police? Okay. Gina, got anything for building?
Nothing new. Any questions I can answer? Maybe?
Glad to see you back.
You're feeling well, we're glad.
Everybody knows the gas station permit was issued, right? Everybody knows that. Code, do we have anything for code?
Speaking of code.
Code is coming in?
Oh, man, I'm really hard.
Hello.
Hello, I've been going around, we're gonna try to, well, first I have to clean up my reports because they're pretty much out of hand. But a lot of the demo's been going on, a lot of the live clearing has been going on pretty good. I've sent out quite a few more notices this week and last week, for debris removal. I'm just working on all that, trying to make this look pretty.
Okay. Have any questions for code?
She's doing a good job.
Yes, she is.
I see a lot of improvement in my neighborhood, where the mafia does.
Yep.
Y'all, see, everybody comes to my welcome center, I forgot to invite y'all to my welcome center.
You gonna put a sign?
Hell, they done got a sign.
It's already up.
Where you been? That's my side of
I
town.
won't come around there.
I don't blame you. She just, you can see a lot of improvements, I appreciate you doing a good job, girl.
Do we know anything about his welcome center, as far as being torn down or whatever?
Well, people don't live in Port St. Joe anymore. I found out they lived in Tampa, so I recently just resent a, notice of violation to their, Tampa address. I found them on the Hillsborough, PA.
So if it gets torn down, we can put a sign over his porch?
That's not in code.
Thank you.
Ask me.
I know you feel the love. All right. Anything else, Ken?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Public Works.
Mayor, council, just continuing on what we normally do, cut the grass this time of year. taking care of whatever needs to be taken care of throughout the city. Also wanted to say, due to the good weather we had the last couple of weeks, Troy and Nick has been able to do a lot of PM on the dredge. It was really needed, replacing parts on it and all, so, you know, the canal's in good shape. They're working on that a little bit today, doing a little cleanup on it, but, with good weather, like I said, we've been able to get a lot of work done on that we needed to, so, other than that, just, taking care of anything comes up.
Hey, Tommy, how are the tracks on the dunes? It looks like the road has kept a lot of people, I haven't seen many people walking across it now.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be, is actually the good idea is to turn a lot of people, plus the signs that's placed down through there, and we're on the last little bit of it now, probably by the end of this week, that'll all be completed and, finished with, so, yeah, I think that's deterring a lot of people, so that actually is gonna work out, be a good idea, I believe.
Good call, man.
Anything from Public Works? Any questions? Thank you. Josh, you got anything for us?
Yes. Since I missed the last meeting, I don't know if David got a formal introduction, but this is David Rising. He's new with our staff, and will be supporting us out here as well with Mexico Beach, so we've got some extra folks allotted to the area. I'll just cover the highlights, and I gave this where you guys can read it. Municipal complex, we met with Mario Enda last week, and we're working on the layout of the entrance road for the tower construction, and we expect to have something preliminary by the end of this week for us to review and move and get laid out so we can work on, I guess, would be the tower installation next. Next steps on that will be to get with DAG and work on the overall preliminary site layout. That was the first portion of our contract, is to actually get the entire complex laid in the site to see what it would look like. The marine I've left on there, as far as I know, it hasn't been obligated yet, and FEMA has no outstanding questions, so we're just waiting on obligation money for it. Sunset Park, we're working on a revision to the site layout provided by the architect, rearranging some parking, rearranging the building a little bit, and we're hoping by the end of this week to have a preliminary site plan ready for that as well for review, for us to be able to look at. Next step is once we get that preliminary site plan laid down, something that everybody's satisfied with, we'll move towards a meeting with Beaches and Shores to discuss the coastal construction control line permitting and what they will and won't allow. The citywide streets, we're finalizing the revised paving plan that I've spoken about, where we're actually taking the allotted areas in the DDD, the cut up portions, and actually creating more unified streets where we have more whole streets that are paved versus chopped up portions. We've got an on-site meeting this Thursday and expect by the middle to the end of next week to have that plan ready for a review. Sidewalks and parking, we're working on finalizing the sidewalk design. We completed topo work on the parking areas a week or so ago, and we'll be working on the public parking area design next on that. The stormwater job, we received the videos back from GAC for camera inspection. Currently, David's actually working on that project. We're actually reviewing those videos now and trying to compare the damage that they were able to identify on the camera versus what was identified post-storm in the DDD. And the expectation coming out of that is we'll have a plan that shows what was identified in the DDD versus what was identified in the camera, so we can develop a scope of work to move forward for repair.
what does that consist of? When you say we'll resume, is that, where are we? Putting the water line
Originally,
in?
they milled the road,
Saw that,
milled the road, so the next portion of that would be installation of the water main. My assumption is, I didn't get this from the contractors, they were probably waiting on materials to get in, so when they actually started on that water main, it could be done.
is it on, which side of the road is it on?
The new water main
Yeah,
started
the new line.
Both on that same side, but they what?
It's more or less going to be closer, it's, because there's not a big easement through Oleander.
Right.
It's going to be under the edge of the asphalt on the southern side of the road,
On the south side.
because the sewer runs down the north side, so we have to keep it away from the sewer. But they are gonna start at 8th Street, so there will be a road closure at 8th Street, because they have to dig up 8th Street to find the 10-inch main, so we're working on coordinating that now.
And when will we look at shaping that road down there at 8th Street? Will that be after the water line's in? Don't lose sight of that.
I won't.
That's gotta have some attention, now's the time, only time we get a chance to fix that.
I got it on my notes.
Okay.
Josh, can I ask you also, do you coordinate with the guys that are building that, gas station back? Because the water, most of the water, I think, was coming off their property, wasn't it?
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so do you work with them at all when they
I
start
don't,
doing
but
that?
I mean, if you guys could arrange a meeting or something like that, a site visit, I'd be more than.
Well,
glad to.
in the development order now, I mean, they will have to address that.
Yeah.
So it's a little different than the way it was 15 years ago when they just,
It was just all
yeah,
concrete.
because that, but I'm in coordination with them and that road with, now's the time to do that.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
I've got a title on the jetty project, but that's the West Jetty proposal, the one that was approved at the last council meeting. We're coordinating the survey work at this point. That was the first part of that scope. The beach landscaping, we're to the point where the base sheet drawings have been created. The expectation is the next 10 to 14 days, we'll have a plan set ready for review and discussion. Once that's something that everybody's pleased with, it'll be ready to bid out.
Can I interrupt you, Josh? So is this an architectural or an engineering, or are they designing what plants where, all that kind of stuff?
Correct.
Okay, so I think this would be a good point, or place for me to bring up. You know, on our Welcome Center, we designed a Taj Mahal that made it really expensive to build. We shouldn't have probably designed a Taj Mahal. And I'm saying that to say, surely we're gonna be able to design this that can be replicated. I mean, you don't have to do the overall project. You could actually do where each walkway comes over, you could replicate that so that you wouldn't have to go through and design something funky for each one of those things. I'm just saying, let's be really careful about what kind of money we allot, because we're only getting a certain amount of money from the state.
$475,000.
So I don't wanna spend all the money in design.
We've already approved it.
Yeah, design.
14,000, 300, or I
It was
forget.
13,
13 or 14.
so we held it down, that's good, okay, thank you.
Yeah, we did.
All right, good.
Josh, before you leave that, and this comes from just not knowing, so I'm gonna ask, when you do a preliminary, design, do you get a preliminary cost?
An estimate will be part of that.
Okay, we'll have an estimate,
We'll have an estimate.
so that we don't go out for bid on something that's $800,000, and we only get four, okay. We'll get a preliminary estimate.
Correct.
Thank you.
The only other one's the city standards, and we covered that in the previous agenda item, so I'll remove that from the list.
Okay. All right, questions for Dewberry? David, nice to meet you. Welcome aboard.
On a citywide streets, I know we're gonna try to just put all the places that need paving and try to at least pave a little bit of the streets, but we are gonna pave them cut throughs that we make from the water lines. On the paving,
Well, the way that, my understanding, and that was before my time, we were given a damage description report by FEMA. It was parts of the roadways that they identified as being damaged. So we're given an allotted area that we can repair by them. Now, whether that covers some of the cuts that you're talking about, you know, that'll be a review that we'll have to look at and identify that. But,
They didn't take those cuts, that's
yeah,
damage.
unless that's,
I've asked him, I was, well,
No,
I,
they
unless
did
that's
not.
part of the
No,
storm
they did
damage
not.
as well.
I wasn't part of the, okay, that's what I.
Now,
didn't know.
that we may gotten lucky, that
Right.
some of the
Might be
damage
in
may
the
be so
road.
close to it,
We can do it.
that we can do it, but they didn't consider any of the cuts, quote,
Is that something?
storm damage.
The city's gonna have to do sooner or later.
Sooner or
maybe
later, I
down the
hope we
road.
do. The first thing we gotta do is quit cutting the roads.
The way it's set up right now, Jerry, is going like in front of your house and one in front of this, 502 Georgia. Them road cuts that we had to make, repair them water lines, we have ordered perma patch. It took us a while to get it. We have 2 complete pallets, and that's what we're starting to go around and start patching in. But we have to let it settle before we can patch.
I was just wondering if this, the street paving was, when it, they're gonna take.
Now, if it's
the road
regular, if it's just from regular road cuts, we had to do something with water or sewer or storm water, that's part of that project, is us to go back and patch the road in that strip. So,
through. That's my question, thank you.
Well, people have to go slower in front of your house, so it's safer for your dog.
Took the speed bump away there, I like the speed bump.
We put it back.
I wish you would.
well, yeah, that's why we shield it up a little bit.
But Harry.
Josh, are you done?
Yes,
We
sir.
just- All right, Mario, you're up.
Yes, sir. On the sand bypass, it's a grant that the city has had years before the hurricane even hit. We've been playing catch up, and Kimberly's done quite a bit of work to coordinate it with MBR, MRD and Associates, who's the people that did that work. And we're getting that put together to send over and get money reimbursed, and I have to get Josh to sign something before he leaves, so please don't leave without signing that. On the townhomes, we circulated the maps that show all the townhome parcels with the planning board in the last meeting, and gave them a brief review of it. It will be posted for the next planning board meeting, for the new council member to look at, and, with hopes of it passing, and then it'll be before the council for the following meeting. So 2 meetings from today, you'll have it before you. The municipal complex, we've been working with the tower provider for the radio tower. They had put together their wish list of where they would like a road and where they would like access easements. We've gotten those drawings over to Dewberry. They're gonna look at where they would like the road, and then we're gonna look at where we have the buildings designed so that we can put the temporary road access to that site at the right location. Where we're not building a road that just gets filled in later on. They will get their power and their water and gas if needed, from 22nd Street, so that will traverse through that location. As the mayor mentioned, the gas station has been approved and they've been issued a permit. MBR, Mexico Beach Reef Association, put down some more reefs, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, and there's another allotment of money that they're gonna be going after, so there'll be a 3rd round of reefs to go down. They did, submit some signage, and if you'll swing by my office, they'd like to put some signs that are just informational signs. They'd like to put them at the ends of the beach walkovers on the beach side, if you all are okay with that. It's a nice looking little sign, it's all their expense, they would just put it down on the beach side of that. The Beach Dune Road, as has been mentioned, has been doing well. We've had a whole new series of meetings with upper management within FEMA that has been productive. We are gaining some headway. Obligations to some of these projects does look like it's a week or 2 out, so we're feeling much better on that. And we've also broken out the architectural engineering components to that, and that is gonna get obligated in the next week so that we can design things like the jetty and the municipal complex and things. So that is my update for now.
What about the welcome center? Yeah. Where are we with that?
The Welcome Center is the engineer that does the mechanical is crunching the numbers at the lower roof to see how much we can downsize the air conditioning conditioning system, and we'll have that out to bid, I was told, by mid to late this week.
Miss Sherry, you seen a copy of the plans of the welcome center? I seen them last week, my first time, that's why. I didn't know if I was on the council, what you at the meeting or something. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen anything.
I think that'd be something. since we
You hadn't
voted.
seen them?
I didn't see them last week.
Well, where were you?
That's where I was at.
We rolled them out.
At the meeting.
They've been available for going on 2 months. I thought I had walked everybody through the plans, they were in my office, so please forgive me if you have not seen them.
I didn't see them last week.
Well, Mario, my concern is, we're crunching numbers, are we changing the design of the building?
We're providing an alternate so that if the price comes in high, we have a way to get it within budget by having alternates. If you want to bid out the exact same drawings that we had, we can bid
Well,
out the exact
are
same
we
drawings.
doing that with alternates?
With alternates, yes, sir.
But we're bidding out the
The
original
exact-
building with alternates, which weren't part of the bid the first time. There were no alternates the first time.
That is correct.
So the alternates will change the look of the building. Is that a yes, or is that correct?
One of the a good number of the alternates have the potential to change the look of the building. One of them is reducing the building height by 2 feet. Another one is changing the windows from continuous glass to just large windows. Another one is taking the metal siding on the west side of the building to hardy board. Again, they're fairly simple changes. We're not asking for drawings on them. It's strictly a description. It should be on an 8.5 by 11. Alternate 1, reduce the building height by 2 feet. Alternate 2, hardy board. The mechanical side of it is where it gets more technical, and somebody's got to crunch some numbers in order to downsize.
Well, can we ensure that we get, that those hit the street this week? I mean, are we comfortable that they're gonna get us that? I mean, we talked about this as our last meeting, and now that by the time it's the end of this week, that'll be 3 weeks that we waited to get something out. Who are we waiting on,
DAG Architects to get the drawings out, yes, sir. Not drawings out.
Well, I'm gonna suggest that we make that a priority to get those on the street this week.
Yes, sir.
We've got to get something going. That's all I got on that, well, so go ahead.
I got a call after our last meeting from James, Totten, who was actually gonna do the actual construction as a subcontractor for, North Florida, I guess that's who it was. Anyhow, he went over what they had taken out. They actually took out a lot of money. He sat down with the electrician, Charlie, with Current Solutions, who does his work, and Charlie finagled and changed a lot of stuff. And all this stuff was run by, the lady that does what's her name? The one that we missed. Kimberly. And she approved all the kind of stuff that they were talking about doing. So they took a whole lot of money out of it. And I'm assuming that they'll be able to take even more now. So they did work on it, and again, that's what I brought up. We need to be very careful from this point forward that we don't allow the architect to design something that we really can't afford. And we need to be very, very careful of that. If everything was okay and we had a lot of money, it would be a great feather in our cap to have such a beautiful building, and we had money to spend on it, but we're not in that shape, so we need to be very careful. I'm saying that from this point forward, all of our architects need to know, we can't afford a Taj Mahal. We don't want a pigsty, but we want, be cognizant of the fact that we're broke, in essence.
I couldn't agree more. And had we, not this group, but the Welcome Center contract was approved, hell, when? I don't even know, months and months and months ago.
Yeah, right.
And
a whole different time frame, a lot of emotional.
And at the time,
yeah,
just to sort of follow up on that quickly, there was leading, not misleading, leading us to that decision was FEMA, that those funds would be made available.
Right.
Well, we're finding out, we're much wiser today, let me just put it that way. We
Right.
are much wiser today. What's that movie, Show Me the Money?
You're right.
That's where we are.
Well
Show me the money.
said, well said, yeah.
All right, Mario, what else? Any other questions for our administrator? Is it council comments?
Okay, I got one, not about math.
Thank you,
Uh, there's so much talk around about law enforcement, defunding and all this. I got to brag on our law enforcement in Mexico Beach.
Amen.
Thank y'all so much. Everybody I've seen does nothing except brag on you. We appreciate you. We have my total support. And never worry about being defunded. Okay.
Thank you, Barbara.
Sharon, you got anything?
I had someone ask me about the, canal or whatever it is, right there at 8th Street, that goes almost to the beach. Sometimes it goes all the way to the beach and empties into the beach. Sometimes it doesn't. What's the story on that? Is it supposed to be kept open? Is that water going to be redirected sometime, or what is?
I'll give you the short version. That is that is at the current time our main drainage canal for the whole north side of the city. We have to go down when it doesn't open itself from rain. When it doesn't punch a hole by just back pressure, we have to send someone down there and open it up to relieve the north side of the city for drainage purposes. It is not designed to stay open here. It's not something we maintain.
Okay.
It is nothing more than a relief valve.
Okay.
And we are fighting and have been for years to try to redirect that dark water so it doesn't go in the Gulf. And that's part of this master drainage plan, is to try to get that closed and redirect that water. Does that,
Okay.
does that help you?
That answers my question.
There you go. All right, Darryl.
I'm good.
Good? Good. Jerry, got anything?
Wait a minute, let me keep the
What'd you say?
I'm good, I don't know what to say.
Bob, you took it out of there. See what you did, it's your fault.
Hey, my hand is up.
I don't have that much, and I'm proud of this council, to agree to disagree. Let's just put it that way. I mean, we all have our differences in the day it shows, and I'm proud of every one of us. We have a working council, I think, that's good for the city. And all our departments really deserve applause or a pat on the back. They really help. This city is growing, and it's going in the right direction, and I think we're gonna make it. I believe we are. And all our city workers doing a wonderful job. All the way down to Nick. Nick's glad.
Nick, I hope you feel good about that. You don't get much of that. Oh, Lord. I'll pass it. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right, everybody knows we got a budget workshop, 10 minutes. How long it take to set up, Monique? 15 minutes?
I'm gonna walk.
We'll see, Mr. Smith, we'll see. Team, no matter. I know we got to say, you know, that's the city clerk. Thank you very much for taking a role in our city. I appreciate it.